Welcome to the Reheat on the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel powered by InsideTexas.com. I'm Joe Cook. That's RT Young. Thank you for watching. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. And of course, make sure you go to that first link in our description. Go to InsideTexas.com. Join Inside Texas for just $1. You can scan that QR code right by Hook'em's Horn right there. Sign up, get the best Texas Longhorns intel, the best analysis, the best scoop as we are in the midst of portal and declaration season. Had a couple today already drop with Anthony Hill, with Trey Owens, with Melvin Hills, with CJ Baxter. And as we record this, maybe one pops up in between now and when it's published. But lots of stuff going on Inside Texas. Texas is going to be active in the portal. We're going to make sure we have all that covered. So come join for just $1. Again, that QR code or the first link in our description. And RT, you and I were sitting around all weekend watching these conference championship games. And I know that there was I bet Sark should be real angry and his team's not in the conference championship. And I wouldn't be surprised if he was upset. We kind of knew that Texas, at least from the tone of Sarkisian's Wednesday press conference, knew they were making a last-ditch effort. They didn't have like a watch party for the playoff show. And then as the weekend went on, Texas was not a team mentioned all that often when it came to who's in, who's out, especially considering some of the other, big storylines, big helmets that were also vying for spots and got left out.
No, and Texas really, besides amongst Texas fans, won't even be remembered from this playoff cycle as the biggest snub. That'll be the Golden Domers up there in Notre Dame, who are not even playing in a bowl game now. They're so angry about it. But you could tell over the weekend that Sark's efforts politicking the committee in between the rankings release last Tuesday and the defeat of Texas A&M on Black Friday, that had just fallen on deaf ears. And there seemed to be a conscious decision over the weekend not to talk about Texas on Saturday during the conference championship games. I'm sure you noticed that as well, but I really noticed it during halftime of the Big 12 championship of BYU and Texas Tech when they showed a graphic of all the teams that had a mathematical possibility of getting in the playoffs in ESPN's mind. And on that list in last place was Duke, the Duke Blue Devils. And nowhere to be found was the iconic Texas Longhorns logo. So it just goes to show that ESPN, the committee, the talking heads, I really think they made a point not to talk about Texas. I think talking about Texas would have even invited some tougher discussions that were more so than the ones that were already being had about Miami and Notre Dame and BYU and some of those teams, obviously. But yesterday, it was the final nail in the coffin with the rankings release. We all expected it. Obviously, the Inside Texas readers expected it as well. But for Texas to end at behind BYU at the final rankings, I guess to some degree, even though as frustrating it was almost nice because it was like, well, there was nothing Texas really could have done to change this committee's mind. They had their mind made up. They couldn't get over the loss to Florida as some unforgivable sin, despite ignoring the ways in which Oklahoma played over the last month, despite ignoring Alabama's loss to Florida State. And even BYU, who obviously wasn't in the final field because of the conference champion G5 teams, but BYU played 2 games against playoff teams and lost by more than 3 scores in both of their matchups to Texas Tech. So I'm not sure what sort of argument that they had at the end of the day over Texas, but that third loss being to Florida was ultimately what they couldn't overcome. But really, it was just that 3 in the loss column. And that is just a scarlet letter, as Paul Wadlington wrote. So as frustrating as that is.
Yeah, we've been trying to tell people, like, you know what, this isn't the NFL. You can have an AFC South and, understand that those teams don't play as difficult of a schedule, but you're in the NFL. There are 32 teams. Here we are in college football with 136 teams, and we're trying to still operate under the assumption that, a 9-3 in this league or with this schedule looks a lot different than an 11-1 or an 11-2 with that schedule. And BYU, I know they understandably had some good metrics and good strength of schedule, stuff like that, but I think you also just have to realize, like, what happens if Bear Bachmeier goes through what Arch Manning had to go through this year? Probably does not look the same. And that was a BYU team that pretty much operated almost in spite of Bear Bachmeier as it got to throwing the football down the field. But that's the thing. Like, Texas wasn't being compared to Notre Dame, to Miami. They were being compared to BYU, again, a team left out. And like you mentioned, there was just never all that much buzz from ESPN. And I try to divorce media from college football and, the puppeteering and the strings, but you can't really divorce it when it comes from the college football playoff, considering the playoff owns all the rights. They don't have a seat at the table as far as the selection committee goes. But it'd be naive to think that there's some that Mickey Mouse doesn't have anything saying, or a say at least, in some of this. And the say was nowhere near anything close to what the Texas, nowhere near anything close to something that would have had Texas in the conversation. And now we have a bowl to talk about, and there are some teams that don't have a bowl to talk about by their own choice, or just by poor seasons.
Yeah, I mean that's obviously interesting. You kind of understand it in situations like Kansas State or Iowa State. There just might be so much mass coaching and player turnover that it's almost not feasible or worthwhile. But in Notre Dame's, they could have gone out to, I don't even know what bowl game they were being considered for now that I think of it, or what if they turned down a specific one. But they could have gone out and made a statement like Georgia did a couple years ago when they were the fifth team in the 2023 college football playoff, and they absolutely obliterated Florida State. I think the final score was 56-3, maybe. And Notre Dame could have gone out, made a statement like that against a team, and then really gone into next year with momentum riding high. And now it's just going to be, they're going into next year with sour grapes. Texas, on the other hand, has the opportunity to show against Michigan in the Cheez-It Bowl, which I'm sure everybody's kids, all the Inside Texas staff members' kids are excited about. This is the first bowl shirt I'm probably interested in quite a long time, is the Cheez-It Bowl shirt. But Texas has the opportunity to really show against a team that was ranked ahead of the Longhorns just a few weeks ago, a team that Oklahoma beat, and that was really the thing that kept Oklahoma in front of Texas in the playoff. If Texas makes a big statement in Florida on New Year's Eve, then obviously that could go a long way in righting some of the wrongs that that befell Texas this year, and gets Steve Sarkisian to 10 wins for the third season in a row. And then obviously the A&M game was a really positive note for Arch Manning, but just one more feather in his cap to go into next year, with people really remembering the Arch Manning of the back half of the season and not who he was against teams like UTEP or even the first game against Ohio State.
I hate to rain on your parade a bit. It's the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl. So there will still be a lot of
It's a
Cheez-It.
horrible combination. That's like a toothpaste in oranges. I mean, oh my gosh, that's awful.
And it used to be the Tangerine Bowl. So it's been around for a while. I remember Steve Spurrier once say you can't spell citrus without UT. And I was talking about the Vols, but it kind of applies to Texas this season. You did mention the 10-win aspect of it, and being able to get 3 straight 10-win seasons for the first time since 07, 08, 09. And I'm curious where you kind of fall on the whole thing about 10 wins, because the point at this juncture for college football teams like Texas is not just to have 10 wins, but it's to have 12 or 13 or 14. And I know that a lot of Texas fans dating back to the early 2000s bristled whenever Mac Brown would bring this up, because all those 10-win seasons where he's like, we won 10 games, it's a great year. Well, you're also getting stomped by Oklahoma in the Cotton Bowl, and you're never playing for your conference championship. 10-win seasons were a big deal whenever you only played 11 games. There were still ties, and the sport looked a lot different. I'm just kind of trying to figure out where you stand on the whole idea of not so much 10, just how important it is, because 10 wins is better than 9 wins, but just start bringing that up maybe just as this month's motivational factor or something he really values?
Are you ready to love your kitchen and bathroom again? Luxe Kitchen and Bath will bring that to life. Luxe has been offering high-end kitchen and bathroom remodels for 3 generations throughout the greater Austin area. With 5-star review after 5-star review on Google and Facebook and an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau, you can put your faith in Luxe Kitchen and Bath's award-winning designers and skilled craftspeople to bring your dream vision to life. But that's not all. Luxe's all-star team also provides full home remodels, large additions, and even commercial build-outs as well. So call Luxe Kitchen and Bath at 833-358-LUXE today, or visit luxekitchenbath.com to discover where quality meets luxury and begin the process of transforming your home. Get your free quote today by calling 833-358-LUXE. That's LUXE, or by visiting luxekitchenbath.com. Contact info is in the description.
I think it's less about the number 10 and it's more about, hey, let's finish the season on a high note and let's finish the season showing people that this Texas team wasn't who they were against Gainesville. It wasn't who they were against Ohio State or that horrible night in Athens. And even in those bumps in the road and wins in Mississippi against Mississippi State and Kentucky. But this team should be measured by who they were against Arkansas and who they were against Texas A&M and even Oklahoma in the Cotton Bowl. So I think it's more about that. Obviously, the fact that some teams can play 16 games now in a regular or in a whole season, and the fact that Texas was 13-3 last year skews the, okay, what numbers signify a good season anymore? Obviously, you look at a team like Duke, who just won the ACC, and if they win if they win their bowl game, whichever that is, I haven't looked, and they finish 9-5. People are going to think, oh, Duke had a pretty good season. They won their conference championship, won their bowl game. But at the end of the day, I'm still looking at Duke like a 7-5 team. Texas is a 9-3 team because they went on the road to Columbus and decided to play Ohio State. So it's less about getting that 10th win, but it's just more showing that progress that they showed at the end of the season was real. That's the truth about the program. The program shouldn't be defined by that loss against Florida or some of the midseason woes. It should be defined by how they finish the season. And I think that'll just mean a lot going into offseason workouts, going into these portal players arriving into a upbeat attitude and culture. And a poster on Inside Texas wrote about this earlier, and it was a great post that the mantra of 2026 that Longhorn team should already be written, and it should be leave no doubt. They're going to keep the game against Ohio State. They should leave no doubt. And they have no room for error because the committee has shown they will give a team like Texas no room for error. So the leaving no doubt should start right now in their prep for the Michigan Wolverines.
I listened to Split Zone Duo, and they always bring up, you know what, the bowl game, if it is there to confirm a belief you have, then it definitely counts. And if Texas gets that 10th win, goes 10-3, gets double-digit wins for the third straight season, well, that's just confirming that Texas had a lot of growth between 2024 and 2025. Did not grow as much as it needed to, but still grew a lot and ended up as one of the better teams in the country. Like, if they win, they're going to end up probably within the top 12, finish, in a good spot, not a great spot, not where they wanted to be. But it'll be a little bit more of a springboard. And then it's fun. This is another football game. We get to talk about another football game. Our friends, we got a lot of friends who cover Notre Dame. They don't get to talk about a football game. They get to talk about the lack of one and literally taking their ball and going home. So I'm all for this. It's fun for the junkies too, because these first couple weeks of practice, if Texas makes use of all 15, and Sark even said 18, which is a new number for me, but these practices, you're going to hear about some of these early, guys earlier in their careers getting some opportunities before they start implementing, Michigan schemes and stuff. And then, we already know Anthony Hill is going to has declared for the draft, not playing in this bowl game. Like, there are going to be a lot of players. If there are further portal departures or maybe early decisions, I don't know, there aren't a ton of candidates for early entrants, but even so, between those two, pools of players, there's a lot of young guys who can step in for them and get a good opportunity heading into next season and show what they can do in front of Texas fans who, if they're watching, they're going to be pretty darn interested to see what's going on.
And one more thing about the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl, Joe, is that college football fans, including Texas and Michigan fans, should be pretty excited because though we just saw these teams play last year in Ann Arbor, we forget this is only the third time that these two iconic teams, programs, and helmets will have taken the field together. We're obviously going to get it again in 2027. Who knows? Could get it next year in the college football playoff. And this game might be the forgotten matchup in a few years of these two teams, especially with 2027 being the first time, or a senior Bryce Underwood versus a team without Arch Manning. But man, that's something that's not lost on me because I remember back in 2004 in the Rose Bowl, how rare it was and how special it was getting to see these two teams face off. And last year in Ann Arbor was so special because you got to reminisce about the game with Dusty Mangum's kick and guys like Cedric Benson and Derek Johnson leaving the program better than they found it with a BCS win. And obviously that paving the road to the national championship. So if you're still a college football fan who gets goosebumps at times, even with all the changes in the sport, seeing these two teams on the field together should make you feel something. So I'm excited about that. But obviously, as you mentioned, there's going to be a huge opportunity for a lot of young guys to step up and continue to prove their mettle. I'm excited for guys who even popped in the Texas A&M game like Kobe Black to just keep building on what they did in the end of the season. But then I think we're going to get a lot of James Simon, a lot of guys like Justice Terry, some people, Dalen McCutcheon, some players that we were maybe really excited about going into this season, but maybe they showed, hey, it's not your time yet, and they're gonna pop in the Cheez-It Bowl, hopefully in a big way.
Kind of to that point, it's still exciting to see, but it's also low stakes. Like, yeah, you want that 10-win season, but if you don't get a bowl trophy because you lost to Michigan, it's not the end of the world. It's not the preferred outcome, but then it's like, oh darn, turn the page. And we're talking about Arch Manning Heisman campaign 2026. You know, it's a little bit of both. I think if you're a Texas fan, you obviously want to win this, and if you're a player, you want to win this. Any venture where you actually put the pads on and the jersey and the helmet, you want to go win. And if you lose, there is a sense of disappointment about it. But I think with this, it's not the end of the world because it's a bowl game, and that has held true about bowl games basically since they started, 7,500 years ago. That's still an aspect that has held true. The importance of it for some people may dwindle, and that's okay. But it's a nice cap to your season if you can get the win. And if it's a loss, well, it's a disappointing thing, just like any loss is disappointing. But then you get to turn the page pretty quickly with this, and that sour taste doesn't stick around long when you're already looking forward to who the next player from the transfer portal is going to be that Texas adds. So speaking of that, we're going to be covering all different transfer portal, roster building, everything over at Inside Texas. So make sure you go to InsideTexas.com, use that first link in our description, or use that QR code right by Hookham's Head. Sign up for just $1. Come join us as Texas gets ready for this bowl game, gets ready for the 2026 season, makes roster adjustments. We've seen departures. We may see some arrivals. So come check us out at Inside Texas. Join us for just $1. Can't wait to see everybody over there in this important month of December. So, RT, thank you so much. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time on the Reheat, the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel powered by InsideTexas.com.